Jerry, thanks for taking the time. It is much appreciated. You have coached a ton of basketball. Your thoughts on what we witnessed Friday night in that game against the Clippers?
Well, I was telling Whitey Gleason and myself and Phantom, we do a little podcast called The Old Fashioned Three this morning, and I was saying, that I would have to go back 2 decades at least to find a game that's anywhere near as exciting, and that would have been, in basically deep playoff games by really terrific Kings teams of the past. And because that was just, obviously 2 very good teams playing typical, almost playoff basketball, but the shooting was brilliant. And down the stretch, big time plays by Monk and Fox. I don't get excited too often, but I was excited.
176 points, and I know it's double overtime, but 176 points, and that's just indicative of what this Kings offense has been this year. How do you explain Coach Mike Brown and his staff and this Kings organization turning this offense around into the juggernaut that it's been in basically 1 year?
Yeah, it's really amazing. I thought they took some things that, Alvin Gentry was doing at the end with Sabonis, running a lot of offense through him, but very creative. And obviously their transition offense, I think, is the best I've ever seen. That's just amazing. Even obviously their defense is not the strong point, but when they get scored on, they can score on you in about 4 seconds. And, they just put so much pressure on the other team's defense. And like I say, I'm like a lot of fans. Well, I wish they were a little better on offense, or defense, but they're great on offense. And I think Coach Brown and his staff, I don't know of any coaching staff could have done as well. I don't care if it's Red Auerbach or Greg Popovich or Pat Riley. I don't care. These guys and Coach Brown has been brilliant.
Jerry Reynolds with us. Coach, when you watch Coach Brown, you listen to him, what made him the right coach for this team? What is it about his personality or his style that you think has fit perfectly here?
Well, I think basically he's an experienced winner. I've always thought, and I don't know Coach Brown, but I know a lot of people that do, and I don't know of anyone that doesn't speak highly of him and have a lot of respect for him, which is a big part of it. But, his background, he's been around champions and he's coached some of the greats of all time. And so I think he came in, certainly from the player standpoint, they had to know that he could do a good job. They had the respect of him right away. And of course he's done nothing but improve on that. But Mike Brown, a great hire. There's no doubt about that. I think he and Monty McNair, have been the best hires in this franchise in the last 15 years, probably.
Have you been wondering, and do you still wonder if De'Aaron Fox can keep this up? Because he's been a good player in the NBA to this point in his career, Jerry, but we're seeing another level from him, especially in those clutch minutes.
No question. I wasn't sure how good he'd be a few years ago. I had some questions, like some fans. I knew he's good, but to be and I think he's bordering on superstardom. I really do. I was, again, go back to the podcast thing, but I was telling the guys, and they, of course, think I'm crazy sometimes, but I just said, and I'm old enough to remember, I saw Tiny Archibald in his prime in Kansas City. I was a college division coach at the time, and Tiny, the year he averaged 34 points and led the league in scoring and assists. And I said, he was totally unguardable at that time. And that's really where Fox is. Don't get me wrong. To be a Hall of Famer like Archibald, he needs to put together 3 or 4 more years like he has. But I'd put him. I think Fox has got a chance to be the best guard in the franchise history.
Jerry Reynolds with us here on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Jerry, your thoughts on Keegan Murray's maturation throughout this rookie season? He's really started to kind of step it up here the last few weeks.
Boy, he has. He's getting more aggressive. Again, I think Coach Brown and his staff showed a lot of patience early in the year when, he had some walkabouts where sometimes you'd forget he's out there. But big time shooter who now has learned to play off the bounce and a little bit of toughness on the board, and he's got the shot blocking ability. I thought it was a great pick when they got him, and I'm more convinced of that now. I mean, he fits perfectly with this team because it's such an unselfish team, and they look for open shooters. And when Keegan can get an open look, he's a knockdown shooter.
As you said, you'd like to see the defense be better, but me and my co-host Nick, we were sitting here saying, look, at this point, the offense is what it is. There's no questioning if this is for real. Should we say the same about what they're doing on the other side of the court and the level that they're playing there, that it just is what it is, and we need to accept that for better or worse?
I think the only thing you can hope for, and I think we saw a little bit of it against the Clippers in key situations. Coach Brown's very creative, and they doubled Kawhi Leonard in several situations, and went to, I think, played a little bit of zone. Just some tempo changes, give teams different looks. I think that, and maybe even pick up a little further. So he's doing some different things that I think will make a 2 or 3 point difference, maybe over the course of most games. And I think that's about all you can hope for because, this is an offensive team and they win with offense, but defense, needs to help you. And I've always said, people say, well, defense wins. And I said, never has. Team with the most points always wins. That's offense.
Jerry Reynolds, great Sacramento Kings organization, as we know. Forever indebted to you, and people love listening to you, Jerry. It was fantastic to catch up with you, and let's do this again soon.
Oh, anytime, guys. And just a real shout out to Gary Gerould, one of the all-time greats. And, at that 3,000 games, he's the Cal Ripken of broadcasting, I did it for a long time. I was the Lou Gehrig, but he's the Cal Ripken.
Thanks, Jerry. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy the show.
All right, there goes Jerry Reynolds on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Yes.